Welcome to the All Hoops Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Inman. I'm joined, as always, by co-host, superstar producer, Chris Brito. We're going to break down what is next for Team USA after their gold medal victory over France. Plus, Jalen Brunson is a Knicks captain. We put a bow on the NBA offseason. Before we get to all that, Chris, my friend, we have a brand new NBA schedule out that's going to include the Knicks on Christmas Day against Wemby and the Spurs. I want to hear your thoughts first on the schedule before we get into all the Olympic action.
Happy to be here on the All Hoops podcast. I mean, how can you not be excited about how the way the Knicks are going to start off the season against the world champion Boston Celtics? Um, I thought the Knicks played them really tough last year, and I think there's reason to be optimistic in terms of how we play against them. And starting off the season with a victory in TD Garden against the Celtics will be the perfect way to kick things off. But the best part is that the Knicks have 34 nationally televised games, and they're tied for the third most with the Celtics. I think I may be wrong, but I think the NBA and its TV partners are buying the Knicks hype. I mean, how can you not? Is there any game on your radar that you're looking forward to the most?
I mean, obviously, my favorite day of the NBA season, Christmas Day. And, I always want to be in those, my mood on Christmas, obviously, when you're younger, you're depending on the gifts, right? Christmas Day is made by the gifts. But now Christmas Day is made by a Knicks victory. And so playing a fun young team that is probably not ready to beat the Knicks on a big stage is the ideal Christmas gift for me. And so I really believe that that's going to be the best day of the year for the Knicks in terms of the regular season.
Yeah, and Jalen and Wemby had an incredible game
Yes, they
last
did.
year where Wemby scored 50 and I think Brunson scored almost 70 or scored 60,
61, I believe, because he was one
61.
off of Melo's
Achilles.
record.
Oh, was it his rec? Okay, yeah.
Melo's record, yeah, 62.
Anyway, incredible. I hope I hope he breaks it this time, but in New York. Anyway, any other highlights for you in terms of the schedule? Otherwise, I know we both really want to talk about the Olympics. I know it's been a few
Yeah, yeah.
days.
I mean, well, the other thing is just we got to call you out publicly and basically tell you Knicks in Miami a couple times. One's around Halloween, the other one's early March.
Mhm.
Love for you to come visit. One of those two. We'll make it a fun week. So definitely got to put those on the calendar for one of those two events.
I'm loving the one in March the most, I think.
That sounds perfect.
All right, well, let's get to the Olympics. None of the Knicks were on the Olympic roster. A bunch of Celtics were. That was like a whole discussion about like the whole Olympics drama. It turns out they didn't need Jayson Tatum to play lots of minutes, but we
No, they
did
did
have
not.
LeBron James, Steph Curry, KD, and a bunch of other uh, characters. What are your main takeaways from the Olympics gold medal game and at the team at large for the future?
Yeah, I think it just starts with I did not believe these games were going to be super interesting. I didn't believe they would be super competitive. I thought it would be kind of Team USA rolling over and looking more like an all-star game, right? That's not what happened here. It was physical, it was intense. Uh, Basically, Serbia and France both did a great job. They really gave it everything they had. And it really took, hero efforts for LeBron, KD, and Stephen Curry. And so I thought these Olympics were fantastic. I thought they were better than they'd been before. I thought being able to see Ant Edwards and Booker go from, guys who may or may not be able to lead a team to being, the fourth, the fourth guy on this Olympic team was really fun to see how they kind of transform their games and just being able to see the pecking order, because right, these are the best players in the world. The pecking order of how that went, where Booker and Edwards thrived, whereas a guy like Tatum did not. And you know, winning a goal, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to sign up for the team. I'm one of the best 10, 15 players in the world. I'm going to sign up for the team and get an easy gold medal. Like if you don't play and if you don't play well with everybody watching, it's brutal. And you saw Tatum struggle a little bit. He didn't get a lot of minutes. and he's got to have his mom out there defending him, and it was tough. It was tough to see that, and that's why I think if I was an NBA star, right, and playing deep into the playoffs, I wouldn't want to do this. I would be like, I'm good. I'll play at some point in my career. I don't need to do this every 4 years because it's the risk reward for me, unless I'm one of the two or three best players in the league, was not worth it.
I mean, I disagree. I think it's still an honor to play. I think there should have
Hard
been
to
a
be
little bit.
asked.
I think it should have been a little bit of an expectations adjustment for Jayson Tatum. And I think it's reasonable to say that he was just exhausted from a very long NBA season. I mean,
I don't know. I don't
ultimately,
even think it's that. I think like
no,
literally the first game, right? He
hold on,
didn't play. Like
hold
how
on,
maybe he's just out of
hold on,
rhythm. Like he didn't
hold
play
on,
in that first
hold
game.
on, hold on. I'm just gonna finish off with my statement with
Okay.
this, that I think there should have been a little bit of an expectations adjustments for him, mostly because he's expected to be one of the best players, and sort of he was, I don't want to say bamboozled, but I think I think it's fair to say that everyone there has to earn their minutes, even though you don't think do you think
No.
you don't think that at all?
I think if you're Jason Tatum and you're making 50 million a year
Well,
coming off
take out the money aspect.
okay, you're Jason Tatum, you're a blank time all-star MVP candidate, and you're gonna give up your summer for this. You gotta know exactly what you're getting yourself into. Like this cannot be a we're gonna try out kind of thing. And it's one thing to say, okay, Tatum struggled and lost minutes, but that's not what happened here. Tatum did not even play the first game. Halliburton didn't play the first game. And so like maybe it's they went by practice, but like at the same time, like I
I
would
don't
not be
know.
happy if
I don't
I'm the
know.
Tatum camp. I'm not happy about
I
that.
think
Like,
I think to be a little bit of a sourpuss after winning gold medal and seeing Team USA win it anyway. The only thing that stands out to me is that his ego is sort of struck, and that's the part of it that makes me sort of like indifferent to the situation overall. Because while I understand that a person of his caliber should have been playing more time, and I may be wearing my anti-Celtics glasses, that being said, like, first of all, you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. You're probably gonna be asked to, to me. You'll probably be asked to be in the next Olympics.
yes.
Could have it all been handled better? For sure. That being said,
It seemed like from the Tatum camp that this was a surprise versus he did not come out and say, "Hey, this was the game plan. We were on the same page. I don't agree with it, but at the same time, I was told like it was like, wait, what? Like it doesn't make sense to me." And
yes,
let me put it this way: let's say Tatum plays right, and they take Embiid out, which Embiid didn't play one of the games. Like how is he going to handle it? How would Ant Edwards have handled it? How would Booker have handled it? I don't think this is a Tatum issue. I think it's more if you're on that top 10, 15, 20 player in the world caliber,
mhm,
you got to be well aware of the situation going into it. And I don't think they were told anything.
maybe. Well, he's still a gold medalist after all
Yes,
that.
he is. And
Um,
I think going forward, you were about to segue us into 2028, right? Jason Tatum's going to be a big part of that team in 2028, most
I agree.
likely.
I think he'll probably, him, Halliburton,
Edwards, Booker,
Edwards, Booker will all be
Bam.
a huge Bam, will all be a huge part of it. I'm pretty sure Spo is going to be the next coach. Um, that being said, I thought I was so impressed with, I mean, because we watched the game together. I mean, the last two games for Team USA versus Serbia and then against France, like that was such entertaining basketball. The one last takeaway about those two things is that I love the game flow. I love that there were no like timeouts, or it was really about basketball, and it was about like it felt grounded in what the sport should actually be about. Whereas I know me and you have talked about how, like, you know, the last 2 minutes of an NBA game usually feel like they are much longer than they have to be. Um, and anyway, I love that Steph Curry hit those incredible shots. I love that LeBron James was a huge part of this run. He deserved the MVP. And I think France needs some guard help to be a power. But that being said, like who knows what's gonna happen with these other country squad. I'm not saying they're gonna beat us next time, but you could always feel like the gap is narrowing down a little bit more.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt like it was narrowing down. I still think Team USA is going to be heavy favorites um, in the next one, even though we don't even know the roster yet. But at the same time, those guys you mentioned, I think would all be a big part of it. You saw what Tatum said, though, basically. It's like, I got to think about it. I'm not going to say anything crazy right now because, he and his camp should absolutely demand, hey, I'm a starter on this team or I'm a really important player, and you got to let me know exactly what my role is. And I think they're going to say, okay, as they should, because he's earned that at this point in his career. Um, but I think, Jalen Brunson could also be part of that team. I think Paolo Banchero can be part of that team. We'll see about Donovan Mitchell. Maybe I think it's probably going to be like a Mitchell versus Brunson thing. They play very similar. It's very similar situation to the Knicks, right? The Knicks said maybe we can go out and get Donovan Mitchell, but I'm not sure if he fits next to Brunson. They're both kind of smaller, superstar scoring guards. They're going to be around the same age. I think it's probably one or the other there, but it should be a really fun, interesting time. And as long as the Knicks win a championship in the next 4 years, I won't be too worried about Brunson being run into the ground in the Olympics.
I'm with you there, brother.
I was being a little negative about Tatum. In terms of the gold medal winners here, I think Kevin Durant was probably the biggest winner. He had that game where he started 9 of 9. He looked unreal. We were talking about potentially him breaking Melo's record for points in a game. He did not, but he came pretty close. And I think just, he's had a couple of down years. He's had some weird situations with Brooklyn and Phoenix. And just to be able to see him surrounded by superstars and him shining the brightest for a good portion of these Olympics was pretty special.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think just seeing him smile a little bit more was nice. Just seeing like even Curry like back on a well, Curry won a championship semi recently, but seeing those guys like indulge in that the winning of it all is was great to see.
All right, Chris. That is the Olympics. Any other takeaways here?
No, I just really had a great time with these Olympics. I think yeah, 4 years in LA. I mean, could you imagine if the United States loses in LA?
That would be something. That would absolutely be
I don't want to
something.
put I don't want to anyway, go ahead.
No, the only other thing is I've seen so many lists of like what this Team USA team could look like in 2028, and basically all of them have Cooper Flag on it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, the hype around Cooper Flag is so big. Whether he might deserve it. But like the hype is so big that we're putting him on the Olympic team 4 years from now. He hasn't even played at Duke yet.
Yeah.
Pretty good, pretty good. But speaking of hyped guys, this guy not overhyped, maybe even underhyped, even though he's our new savior with the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson was named the 36th captain in Knicks history. This is an honor that the team used to do a lot. They have not done it much in recent years. Lance Thomas was the most recent guy, and no one is really more deserving of this honor. And I think you know captaincy in the NBA is rare these days, but at the same time, with the history of New York, with Derek Jeter, David Wright, the big New York captains in the last 10, 15 years, adding Brunson to that list as the face of the franchise, probably the face of New York sports right now. It's a really special honor, and there's no one really more deserving in New York right now.
I can't disagree with you. I was shocked to know that Carmelo Anthony wasn't a captain, but that makes total sense. I can't help to think about what the criteria was for this, but I'm happy it's Jalen. I can't wait to see what this season will bring. I hope Mitchell Robinson gets healthy quick soon, and I think we're expected to have Randall back, so Brunson and the crew will have a good season, hopefully.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a very fun next year, all based on health. If they are healthy, this is gonna be great. And he's already the leader of this team, so making him the team captain, really all you're doing is just making everybody feel good. And there's no reason to prevent that. So I'm very excited about that. Chris, season's coming around. We're about 2 months away now, playing Boston very soon. Um, let's get to our final thoughts around the offseason here. Lauri Markkanen finally got his extension done. It's a super max, right? That might be a deal where you're like, Lauri's a pretty good player, but like a 50 million a year player seems like a lot. But his team was smart about this, and they made it very public quickly that he's not signing this extension on the day he's due. He's going to sign it the day after. And the reason for that is because you can't trade anybody 6 months after signing an extension. And so the trade deadline will now be one day after that, meaning he cannot be traded at the deadline. He cannot be traded until next summer. So he seems to like Utah a lot. He's made that clear. The team, can't really argue against the timing of his extension because then it shows their cards of, hey, we really want to keep the option open to trade you in a couple of months. And you don't really want to start a new contract with that, right? Remember the Blake Griffin thing? He signed his extension. He did not wait. He signed it immediately, and he's traded the deadline to Detroit. And that kind of not ended his career. He had a couple more good years, but that was kind of on the downfall of his career. So good job for Lauri Markkanen. Good job by the Jazz. They keep a pretty interesting player. The other guy who's on the trade market, Chris, Brandon Ingram. I don't know what happened here. It seems like everyone's like, he doesn't really play defense that well. He doesn't really fit in with Zion. He didn't really fit in with the other stars during the what was it, the FIBA tournament. And so I'm curious if his market has just dried up and no
Yeah.
one seems to be really willing to trade assets and then give him an extension.
I think I can't help to feel that's part of it. I can't help to feel that I think Ingram does well when he's the sole scorer or primary scoring option, but outside of that, he hasn't really developed into a player that can play around other players, and I think that'll be his biggest downfall. And I think as other teams like you start to make a decision on whether a player is worth it, it's the part of the calculation is whether they can fit on the team. And clearly Ingram hasn't fit on many teams, especially the one he's currently on. And if you can't fit on a team like Team USA that has a bunch of players, and it's tough to a
You
bunch of great players, obviously.
you almost wonder if he's kind of just like a good stats, bad team guy. And for something like that, I'm not really sure you're willing to pay 50 million a year for and give up first round picks.
No shot.
All right, Chris. My last thing, the Big Three League was in effect this summer, and Michael Beasley was named the MVP. I never really understood why he didn't get more time in the NBA. I still think he could put up, 12 points a game, you
Mhm.
know, in like 16 minutes of action off the bench for some contender. And yeah, I mean, there's not going to be any defense there, but at the same time, there's plenty of guys who don't play defense and are not able to score the way he can. So I never really understood that, but good job, Michael Beasley, making the headlines MVP Big Three League.
Did you hear that the Big Three League is trying to play with the winners from the Olympic 3-on-3 tournament? I think from the
I
Netherlands.
did, and the winner said yes, and the Olympic committee said no, you cannot do this, and if you do, we're gonna maybe potentially not let you come back for the next time. And I think they feel threatened by the Big Three League, who has been doing this for a few years now, and obviously has done a pretty good job of building this thing up. So
Yeah,
I don't really understand. They could have made this a really fun thing for both sides, even if the Big Three just paid the Olympics some money. I think there was a way to make this work, but it's kind of disappointing for them to kind of block it.
yeah, I agree. And I sort of love this out of box thinking from these basketball leagues. I mean, American basketball leagues. I think the NBA. I don't know if it was a rumor or not, but the NBA was also looking to like host some sort of tournament with club teams from throughout the world. Um, Sort of landing on the premise that Noah Lyles was saying that like from his earlier comments from like earlier this year, where he's like, "Oh, the NBA champions are not the world champions; they're just American champions."
So
Anyway,
annoying.
um, anyway, it's been a very fun basketball season. I think I as we've mentioned throughout a few times on this podcast, we can't wait for the next uh following season. And I just want to say thank you to Steve for everything on this podcast. And I can't wait for the NBA season to get back into full swing.
I mean, we have so much coming up that's going to be probably the best year of Knicks basketball. Probably knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood, people. Best year of Knicks basketball since we started this pod many, many years ago now. We're going to have some elite players around the league too. It's still going to be a lot of fun. Can this defending team, Celtics, how do they look? Wemby, another year older. How do any of these rookies play out? I mean, obviously, it was a draft where no one really seemed to know what was going on, and 12 guys could have went number one. Who actually emerges as the best player in this draft? I'm very curious to see that. We're going to talk about all those storylines in the next few weeks, next few months. We got 2 months before the NBA season, so stick around. More all hoops coming soon.
Bye, guys. Have a good summer.